Welcome to the Wild About Turkey Hunting podcast, a show for those who love the thrill of that first morning gobble, who love sharing the outdoors with a close friend, and for those who never want to stop learning about this awesome ritual we call spring turkey hunting. I'm Josh Davis, host and creator of the YouTube channel Davis Family Hunts. I'm wild about turkey hunting, and I bet you are too. Thanks for joining. Let's get started. As I look back over the last 30 years of turkey hunting, I realized that more than 60% of the gobblers I saw get knocked down were on hunts that I shared with someone else. Double teaming gobblers is a deadly effective strategy in the spring woods, and I want to share with you why I think 2 hunters on a gobbler are better than 1. Plus, I'll give you 2 new tactics you may never have tried before with your hunting partner. But first, if you want to submit a question to be answered on my podcast, I encourage you to use the podcast tab on our website, davisfamilyhunts.com, and leave a recorded voice message for me. We'll select a question to cover during a future show, and if we use your question in the show, we'll send you a small gift pack, which will include some stickers and some other special items for your next hunt. Okay, so this is Season 1, Episode 4, and we're talking about double teaming spring toms. First, let's ask why we would even pair up with another person to turkey hunt. No doubt many of you listening prefer to go out alone when going toe-to-toe with a mature gobbler, and with good reason. If you hunt with another person, I'll agree that there are some downsides. You've got twice as many feet going through the woods. That means more shuffling leaves, a bigger likelihood of stepping on a stick, and if the forest floor is really dry and crunchy, you can sound like a herd of elephants moving through the woods. Hunting with another person means that you've got more people to hide, and this can be really tough, especially if a good setup tree or quality cover in general is at a premium. You may also have to deal with disagreements about where to set up, or when to call, or what to do next. Those are all very real concerns, but I hope that by the end of this discussion that you may be more open-minded about partnering up with a camo companion. But let's take a look at all the advantages that double teaming can bring to your hunt. 2 hunters mean more eyes glassing a distant field for strutters. It means more eyes scanning the woods for the movement of an approaching gobbler. And likewise, 2 hunters mean twice as many ears listening for gobblers on the roost or picking out responses to your locator call. Having a hunting partner can keep you in the field longer. The Bible says, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds," in Hebrews 10:24. In the same way believers in Christ help motivate each other to live like Jesus, we as turkey hunters can challenge each other to build long-lasting endurance in the woods. When we want to quit, having somebody else there can help you sit it out just a little while longer, or climb just one more ridgetop to call from. And as an added bonus, double teaming for turkeys gives you a chance to get back into the woods when you've already tagged out. You get to experience yet another day of a beautiful sunrise, another morning of hearty gobbles floating through the air, and another front row seat to the greatest game of the spring. So here are a couple of my favorite tactics when double teaming gobblers. My preferred scenario is to sit side by side, sharing the same tree, or 2 trees just mere feet from one another. And this works well for a couple of reasons. First, if you're hunting with somebody new, it gives a very clear opportunity to explain what's going on. You can quietly talk to them about what the turkeys are doing, and you can coach them when they're unexperienced and they need to know when to shift their gun or position in a different way, or when to hold extremely still because that gobbler has committed and is coming in. And on any given hunt like this, there's usually someone who is the shooter and someone who's the caller. And similar to side by side, if there are 2 of us as shooters, I like to cover more of the woods with gunfire by spreading out further left or right of my hunting partner. And there are a couple advantages that come to mind with this layout too. First is the ability to cover more gun range territory between 2 hunters. I learned this tactic years ago from well-known predator hunter, the late Dennis Kirk, when he would talk about calling in red fox at night. Now think about your setup in terms of how far hunter A can shoot toward the left and how far hunter B can shoot toward the right. If you think about a Venn diagram where 2 circles overlap, your center point can have coverage from both hunters, but left and right are covered by each individual hunter. So hunter A is covering from about 2 o'clock to all the way maybe down to 8 o'clock. and hunter B is covering anywhere from maybe about 10 o'clock all the way down to about 4 o'clock. And the end result is that you have quite an impressive amount of yardage covered between the two of you for an approaching gobbler. Because think about it, most turkey hunters can comfortably and confidently cover about 30 yards or more with their gun, regardless of their turkey load type or their shotgun size. That means that at a minimum, hunters can cover about 90 yards of timber between the left, right, and the overlapping middle ground out in front of them. And that's a pretty lethal setup for gobblers who don't play fair, and for the ones who may try to flank your setup and come in from one side or the other. Now, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, before somebody leaves me a comment or sends me an email, it's obvious that you should always know where your partner is at. And that's why I like to keep within sight of one another with this tactic. And you should never point your gun even remotely in the direction of your hunting partner. But done in a safe and an experienced way, 2 guns could be more effective than 1, especially if neither of you care who pulls the trigger on that big tom. So let's transition to where double teaming a gobbler really shines, and that's in calling scenarios. If you've ever dealt with the dreaded 60-yard barrier that a wise old tom seems to be good at keeping from you, then you'll understand how this tactic works. It seems that toms are notorious for hanging up about 60 or 70 yards from your hiding spot. And most ethical and experienced turkey hunters prefer to keep their shots at about 40 yards or less. Even with today's modern shot shell options, many hunters, including myself, believe that the game is about getting the bird as close as possible, not seeing how far away you can shoot him from. To keep a tom from hanging up out of range where he feels like he should see a hen, it's best for one hunter to hang back to serve as the caller, and for the other hunter to wait silently out in front, ready to bust that tom when he gets into range. When that tom is ready to hang up 60 yards or so from the caller, he's likely to be right in the lap of the shooter. 2 scenarios where I think this works really well. The first is if there's a bend in the terrain, whether it's a curve in a logging road or a power line or a gas line. If you can find a space where the tom has to come around a corner in order to see the hen that he thinks that he's responding to, it's a deadly tactic. The shooter is positioned about 30 yards or so from where the approaching tom's line of sight is broken, so I usually prefer the inside corner, and you set up, gun pointed, and ready to fire when he's clearly identified his target. The second hunter, who's serving as the sole caller in this case, hangs back another 40 yards or more behind the shooter. So as an approaching turkey is closing the distance, his mind is convinced that that hen is still down the trail or out in that opening. Because of that, he can comfortably move forward until he gets to where he thinks that he should see that hen. In other words, he may come in less cautiously around the bend because he still thinks that he has a ways to go before he needs to slow down and start playing hard to get with the hen that should come to him as he just stands there and spits and drums from a distance. His mind is focused on a scenario that is much further from where that first hunter is waiting in ambush. Another favorite tactic that Dad and I have used a lot through the years is finding a place where turkeys need to work their way up over a rise of terrain to see where the hen might be. Even when hunting alone, this is a good tactic. You want to see that turkey for the first time when he's already in killing range. But this can work even better when you've got 2 hunters. How so? Again, you want that first hunter setting out front just up from a lower shelf or just off the backside of a top ridge, and the second hunter, who is just the caller, calling from further back. And the beauty of this setup is that the caller will generally be out of sight the entire time as the turkey is approaching, because the hope is that even the shooter doesn't see the turkey until he has appeared in range. That means that the caller has the ability to get up and move to the right or to the left, steering the gobbler to come right toward the shooter. If you think about a rudder steering a ship, moving to the left makes it go to the right, and moving to the right makes it go to the left. And the same can be true for bringing in a turkey into the hunter. Think of a 12-inch ruler. If you take that ruler and you nail it down to the table in the center of that ruler at the 6-inch mark, that stands for your shooter. You as the caller are at one far end of the ruler, and the approaching turkey is at the opposite end of the ruler. And as you hear him gobbling, you can assess if he's moving straight in or if he's moving in to the right or to the left. If the bird is moving to the left or right, you would adjust your calling position to the opposite direction of the approaching bird. Again, think about that ruler nail down with its pivot point right in the middle. As the turkey is moving from one end of the ruler in toward the 6-inch mark, you need to compensate by moving the opposite direction. At all times, you're trying to keep a straight line between you and the turkey, with your shooter always in between you. It's a lethal method when the turkey commits and ends up running right into your shooter's setup. There's a giveaway going on right now, and you're invited to join for free. Just head over to davisfamilyhunts.com and sign up for our newsletter. Once you do that, you'll get a link to enter the giveaway. This is your shot at winning a cool prize package, which includes a really nice personalized box call, perfect for bringing in that next longbeard this spring. Don't wait too long because this chance won't last forever, so make sure you enter today. Again, just go to davisfamilyhunts.com, sign up for our newsletter, use the link to enter the giveaway, and get ready for your chance to win a prize package that can help you succeed in the turkey woods. Now, let's get back to the show. So this next scenario can really pique a longbeard's interest. It's mimicking a flock of turkeys that are really going at it with their chatter. Dad and I call this scenario the Kentucky Ridge tactic. That's because we stumbled upon this trick while hunting back in the late 90s on, as you guessed it, a ridge in Kentucky. And we hadn't heard a gobble since things went quiet after fly down. In fact, it was the third day of dealing with the same outcome. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were tired and hot, and frankly, we were whipped. We had climbed up a mountain hillside about 3/4 of the way to the top, and we just sat down against a tree, and Dad pulled out his old box call. After making some yelps on it, he pulled out another call, and at the same time, I began running a pot call. Then he started blowing on his mouth call. For about 15 minutes, we just kept pulling out and playing with all of our calls that we had in our vests. And nothing responded. We put our calls away and we sat there sharing a cut-up apple. About the time that we were finished eating our snack, a gobbler erupted from the ridge right up above us about 80 yards away, and we were pinned down. We rolled over on our bellies and tried to point our guns toward the top of the ridge, and I handed Dad my mini box call, which was an old Rome Brothers cedar, and he began calling, and that longbeard fired back. For 10 minutes, he paraded back and forth from the top of that ridge, answering almost every call. Only every once in a while could we catch a glimpse of his head as he gobbled, or we could see the tips of his fan as he swayed back and forth. And we never did kill that tom. Our position was all wrong, and the turkey simply lost interest when we would move any closer, and he drifted away. But we picked up a great idea that day, which we've used many times since then. When things have been really quiet and slow, we make the woods come alive with some really active hen chatter. We'll pull out box calls, pot calls, run mouth calls all at the same time, trying to sound like the most wound up flock of turkeys you've ever heard. We'll yelp, we'll cut, we'll do fighting purrs, we'll walk around 40 yards or so from one another, all the while just making a real ruckus in the woods. For about 7 to 10 minutes, we'll just carry on like a bunch of fussy hens. We'll trade out mouth calls, we'll drag out multiple pot calls and strikers just to change up the sounds of each hen that seem to be chiming in, but all in all, we just create a bunch of flock talk. Then all at once, we'll go dead quiet, and we'll find a good spot to set up and to hide for a while, and then we wait. Listening to the subtle sounds of the spring breeze blowing through the trees and the happy melodies of songbirds, it's almost enough just to lull you to sleep. And then all of a sudden, a gobble will break out through that peaceful atmosphere, and it's game on. And I don't know the real reason why this seems to elicit gobbles, but on several occasions in several states, on both public and private, this tactic has raised a gobble when nothing else would. Maybe it's because all that hen talk suddenly put him in a romantic mood. Or perhaps it's the pure curiosity of listening to all that chatter, thinking that he's got it made if he just heads over, and then all of a sudden it just goes quiet. He's thinking, well, why did all these hens that sound like sure things just ghost him, and where are they now? But for whatever the reason, making a bunch of calling commotion and then just hitting the mute button seems to provoke a response. Now, I will admit that this is not usually our first tactic. This is more of a Hail Mary play saved for the last day of the hunting trip or the last day of the season, but it's successfully worked enough times that we keep it in our turkey calling toolbox. And yes, you could, in theory, pull off this trick on a solo hunt, But there's no way that you could mimic the sound of 4 or more hens at the exact same time, like you can with 2 hunters each running a friction call and a mouth call at the same time. It's something worth trying with your hunting partner. And for podcast insiders, I'll also leave a bonus strategy for tag team calling on our insider page. To get the special link for free bonus content on the members only part of our website, you need to sign up for our newsletter. It's totally free, and you can find a link to sign up in the notes for this podcast, or you can just head over to davisfamilyhunts.com and sign up right there on the homepage. After you sign up, you'll get a link to check out the bonus tips from this episode and more. Again, that's davisfamilyhunts.com. Get signed up for our newsletter, and you can pick up more from our insiders page, which gives you bonus content, special discounts, and more. I hope that if you've never considered hitting the woods with another turkey hunter, that today's episode will encourage you to give it a try. From extending your time in the woods after tagging out to getting a leg up on an old wise tom, there are a lot of reasons to give it a try. You'll notice that the more that you hunt with someone else, the more that you become in tune with one another as well. For so many years, my father and I have definitely turned into a deadly duo. Certain hand signals help us communicate without speaking during the hunt, and we're willing to take turns with both of us as the shooter and the caller, and we celebrate the hunt no matter which role we've played. When you begin to fall into sync as a team, you begin to anticipate one another's moves and ideas, and it can really make a difference in the outcome of your hunt. Plus, it's just plain fun to share in somebody else's success. And before you go, I invite you to check out our YouTube channel, Davis Family Hunts. We've got all sorts of stuff on there, from the sounds that turkeys make to our fun turkey hunting adventures with the kids. And we'd really appreciate if you would subscribe so you can catch more of our turkey hunting videos. Plus, it'd be awesome if you followed us on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for Davis Family Hunts on either platform to stay in the loop, see what we're up to, and we'd love to chat with you there also. And don't forget, you can visit our website, davisfamilyhunts.com. Whether you're into turkey hunting or just want to strengthen your bond with Jesus Christ, the more you know and put into practice, the better you'll get. The more skilled you become, and the more fun it becomes. I hope you have a great time enjoying the outdoors, whether it's with wild turkeys or just spending time with God. Remember, the pursuit is wild. Never stop learning.